Welcome to the unchurched. Pull up a chair. The spiritual Lord. Yeah. We cut that cloth. Mind on freedom. Still in the talk. Welcome to the chop house, where we break that script apart. Shopping love, carving futures from the dark. From the block to the boardroom, we gon' build this brick by brick. With the spiritual thought leader, turning pressure into gifts. Black gold in the bloodstream, old pain in the bone, turn chains into cheat codes, turn maybe to our own. We talk vision, talk village, talk healing in the mix. Talk that on your back, talk that on your bricks, yeah.
You just stepped into a space where the walls are down and the labels don't stick. This isn't about having all the answers. It's about having the courage to ask the questions that keep you up at night. We call this the unchurched because we're moving past the pulpit and stepping away from the script. We're trading rigid doctrine for raw discovery and finding the sacred in the middle of our daily grind. Whether you're full of faith, full of doubt, or just plain tired of the noise, there is a seat at the table for you. Today, we're leaning into the I don't know yet. We're exploring what it looks like to live authentically, love without boundaries, and find a spirituality that actually breathes. This is your flow space. This is your community of the curious. Take a breath, open your mind. Let's pull down the walls and see what's waiting on the other side. I'm your host, and you are exactly where you're supposed to be.
Well, good evening, good evening, good evening. I want to welcome you to tonight's edition of The Unchurched. I see you, Chef Noby. Nothing but mad love to you. I appreciate you for coming in and for everybody else that's here. Yes, this is The Unchurched. And we're going beyond the pulpit and going outside the walls, and we're just talking and sharing. I appreciate you for joining me tonight. Want to say I missed you all, J Trey. I see you. It's always good to see you, fam. Nothing but mad love to you. I want to say that we were blessed to come through. Oh yeah, you're here, Chef Noby. We here. Friday, I didn't stream on Friday because we were under tornado watch the majority of the evening, actually. We ended up dismissing all of our schools early. I'm a bus driver in my latter career here as I'm preparing for retirement. And so, come on, Diane DBX, good to see you. I am so happy that you are here, and nothing but mad love to you. As I said on Friday, we ended up being under tornado watch, power outages. People's houses were being destroyed. They were telling us to go to the safe place and this and that and the third. And so I did not stream on Friday. I appreciate everybody that was out there waiting. And I know that there were some, my friend Carolyn Green, White Green was down in Texas waiting on us to come on. I told her, no, baby, it's the weather is too bad here right now, so I'm not going to stream tonight. But thanks be to God, I am in one of these old houses that the Lord blessed me to obtain here. And I tell you what, it doesn't budge. It doesn't do a thing. It is solid. So, but I was ready. I told my sister that lives here in the city with me. We stayed in contact throughout the day. and we agreed that we were going to go to our safe space down in our basements if we needed to, take our cell phones and any other technology we needed to stay in contact should that be the case. But thanks be to God, the Lord brought us through with absolutely no problem, no damage, no anything here. And it was a horrendous weekend. But nonetheless, we thank God nature is doing something. You know, the heavens are telling. I'll tell you what, they're telling us something. The heavens are telling us that the earth is in a great disruption, and it's not lying. Now, I'm going to just share tonight, and it may not be a lengthy, my Sunday evening, the unchurched tackles a scriptural concept or a spiritual concept that comes from the Holy Writ, whatever source we choose to use at that particular time. Tonight, I'm going to be coming from Luke the 7th. Let's see. I want to go to Luke the 15th chapter, verses 11 and through 32. And you all know this is a very familiar passage of scripture. Tonight, I want to talk about kazaza. And I want you to take this thought away with you as you leave from this space on tonight. Now, we always hear this talked about in terms of the prodigal son. And I remember early on in my ministry, the Lord impressed on me, instead of teaching and preaching the prodigal son, was to talk about the loving father. Because so many times we emphasize the sonship and the prodigal ways, meaning you already know how to tell that story. Give me and let me, give me what's mine and let me go my way. Give me my inheritance and let me get up out of here. And he wasted all of his life, all of his wealth on riotous living and ended up down there with the hogs and the swine, wanting to eat. Come on, OGZ Diva. So good to see you. Nothing but mad love to you. Come on in the house, fam. Come on in the house. And so we know how that story is often told. I want to emphasize again, God told me early on in my career, I've been in ministry since I have been a teenager, and I have tried to follow the mandate that God gave me. Preach a positive gospel for positive results. We have enough people out there preaching gloom and doom, hellfire, and you're going to hell. That was not the ministry that God gave me. And so I'm going to continue in the vein and the trend of the call on my life, which is to preach positive gospel for positive results. That being said, I wanted to introduce the concept of kazaza to you on tonight. Again, the Lord spoke to me years ago and was like, instead of talking about the prodigal son, can you concentrate on the loving father? Because the love in this story is what makes the difference. Not the sin, not the error, not the wasting of his living, which is where we tend to go with that. Now, as we talk about kazaza, this is again, if you listen to the words to my intro in the song, this is where scriptures sound like stories. So this is more of what I'm going to tend to do in these settings. Instead of picking out scriptures, I'm telling you the scriptural reference. Go to Luke, the 15th chapter, verses 11-32, if you want to read it in the Bible. If you feel like what I'm saying is not in alignment, go read the story out of that. But I'm not going to do that in more times than not in these particular settings. I'm going to more so give you the understanding, because I want you to walk away with something. I want some meat on the bones. I just don't want the bones and whatever. Let's put some meat on the bones. So kazaza is a concept that I want you to walk away with tonight. And I'm going to share my screen so you can see. This isn't something that I'm making up. I went out there and I just did an AI overview so I could pull it up so that you would know that I'm not just making this up. This is a concept of a tradition that is done in Talmudic tradition. Now, the Talmud, Talmud, that is the law of the Jewish people. Now, what I need many of us to understand, and I know some people really, because we embrace this as the way of ritualism and laws that we should abide by, I want to always impose on your thought and your thinking that this is their culture. This is their culture. So, and let me come here. And this is in the Bible. If you go and find it, go out there, Deuteronomy, you'll see where, and Numbers gives a lot of the law as well, where they tell that if your children are rebellious, if you have a rebellious child, take that child outside the city and stone them to the death. Now, y'all know we're not getting ready to stone our kids to death. As a matter of fact, if that law was a law that we were going to abide by, a whole lot of us wouldn't have made it because we'd already be dead. Because y'all know rebellion was our middle name. Am I talking to anybody? We did, I know, let me say for myself, the spiritual thought leader did so many things that had my parents known what I was doing, they would have shut that down with a heartbeat. But I knew where to do it and who to do it with and where not to do it. Because listen, if it was people that the word was going to get back to my parents, or if, come on, Diane, you know I'm telling the truth. If it was people that was going to tell my parents or it was going to get back to them, I knew not to act crazy in certain scenarios. But when I got away from that influence, my behavior was less than reputable. So, if we were really under that cultural Talmudic law, a lot of us would not have seen the light of day past a certain age. And I stress that because, again, where you all, and hear me when I say this, if you're going to try to do the law, you got to keep the whole law. You can't keep pieces of it, a piece here and a piece there, and this, we're just going to chuck that out the window. But I'm trying to get us to understand, even though we've been taught in that way in our ministries and a lot of our churches, either you're going to keep the whole law or understand it for what it is. It gives us an idea of a pattern. It gives us an idea of an example. And again, recognize that a lot of particularly Old Testament scripture and particularly the Talmudic law, it referred to those that culture. You're not going to go out and check your clothes and make sure there's not a blend in your clothing because you wear fabrics of all kind all mixed together. But understand that under Talmudic law did not allow for the mixing of fabrics. So I'm saying this to kind of lay the foundation to hopefully help you to release some of this from your mind and understand the difference between culture and the law that was given to that culture. Y'all not gonna put down the shrimp, as some of my family members say, scrimps. Y'all not gonna put down the scrimps, but scrimps are considered unclean, and there are some that still abide by that, and they do not do anything that's a scavenger. They won't eat certain, and I have no problem with those that follow dietary laws. But what I'm trying to stress to the greater point is that most of us are not keeping many of the laws that were very critical and essential. And even this story about him being in the hog pen and looking at what the hogs were eating and thinking about and considering getting down there with the hogs and eating what the hogs were eating. Dr. Dady Priest, the high priestess, is in the room. Come on in here. It's good to see you, and I love you. So I'm stressing this point of understanding the difference. Listen, don't mess with the scrimps because you shall be eating them. Much love to you, Cassandra Woke 2022. Come on in here. It's so good to see you. That's my sister, and I love you. You've been following on YouTube. Thank you so much. And I have to confess, I have yet to connect YouTube so that YouTube can get in this chat. So Carolyn White Green, who does not miss, I'm sure you're out there, and I appreciate you in YouTube. Double Spirit 08, it is so good to see you. Come on in here. All my families. Listen, the family is reconvening here in the Unchurched. I appreciate you. So the point that I'm bringing out here is that many of the laws we do not currently observe and abide by. And so, again, either you're going to keep all the law or, the pick and choose is not the idea. Eat the whole roll would be the concept. So today I want to talk about Kazaza. And I want you to understand the story of the prodigal son from that perspective. Now, you know what we talked about on last week. We were talking about the vagus nerve, and I want to again continue along with this idea of how do I see some of this in the spiritual? So stay with me today, and I'm going to try to tie a lot of this together so that hopefully you can get the spiritual insight that I'm hoping to bring to you. Now, Kazaza in the parable of the prodigal son, now the father gives his reckless son, illustrating God's unconditional love. But I want to definitely focus on a few things more so than the son. As I said, my emphasis tonight is about the father. So write this down if you've never heard the concept of Kazaza. It's spelled Kezazah, Kazaza. That's what I really want to emphasize tonight. So as we understand when the son came back, and this again, as I shared with you earlier, God always talked to me about the love of the loving father versus spending so much time and energy on the recklessness of the prodigal son. Now, Kazaza, we read the story, and after he's done all that he's going to do, and when he comes to himself, as we so often say in the teaching of that sermon, when he came to himself, he got up and said, listen, I can go back to my father because my father's servants are living better than I'm living. I'm willing to go back as a servant. And there's something about when your spirit gets contrite. There's something about when your spirit realizes, hey, I've jacked this thing up to the hilt and I need some help. I need to get back to square. I need to get back on square. And you start that process. And I really want to come here, and I am reminded of, and I don't know if Truck is here yet or not, but Truck Driver mentioned on Wednesday night when we were talking about the ability to look people in the eye and eye contact and how important that is. Eye contact is very critical, and he was sharing after his time out there in the streets, he has found it very, very difficult to look people in the eye in certain situations. And I don't, I'm wanting to address that because, again, we talk about spirituality from the place of being in a flow. And anything that impedes or creates resistance in the flow, your spirit, that flow is your spirituality. We want to release any resistance to that. So I wanted to come here because, again, Kazaza addresses that very concept, but a lot of us in our lives, even after we've made, as we used to sing the song, I have decided to follow Jesus, even after we've made the decision for life changes, we still have some old baggage that's still trying to hang on. And that's why I wanted to stop and talk about Kazaza on tonight. I was taught eye contact is the first contact. Come on here, Chef Nobi. And then other people came, Chef Nobi, from a background where they were not allowed to look people in the eye. It was considered some form of disrespect depending on the situation. So all of us have been taught differently. I am definitely a believer in, my parents taught me from day one, look somebody in the eye when you talk to them. And for us, I think it was probably that essence of as Black people, people of color, have pride in yourself and don't let anyone make you feel like you're less than, that you cannot look them dead in their eyes and talk. And so I'm a Chef Nobi, I'm a look you dead in your eye type person. Everybody doesn't have that. And once again, some people have gone through situations in life where they feel like what I'm going to term as a level of unworthiness to look someone in their eye. And I rebuke that spirit even on tonight. So Kazaza, K-E-Z-A-Z-A-H, is a Talmudic concept. And I wanted to stop here. It deals with connections. When I was a principal, my demographic was 60% Hispanic. We learned they don't make eye contact with authority figures. Come on with that, Dr. Dady. Absolutely. And there are a lot of people, Dr. Dady, that it was a sign of being demure, modest, respectful, and not feeling that, particularly with elders. I saw this more so with people that were your elder. You don't look them dead in the eye because that is the same as putting yourself on the same level, so to speak. But we are all on the same level. And I understand all those different ideas, all those different teachings and whatever. However, I contend that ultimately in the spirit, and when we get in our spirituality, these ideas of levels and different things, understand the culture that you're in. But by and large, I'm gonna look you dead in your eyes, and I espouse to that concept. because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We have the Spirit of God housed in our temple, which that's all this body is clay dirt. And nobody has levels of anything over somebody else, in my opinion. And that's the way that I believe, and that's the way I live. So when we start talking about Kazaza, Kazaza is very critical to understand in the story of the prodigal son, because there are those that still have the essence of when the prodigal said, I'm going to go home and I'm willing to be a servant. I'm willing to be less than sons. I'm willing to be less than a daughter. And I'm saying to you, no, if you really understand what is involved in that story, the story of the loving father, again, that's the way I frame it in versus the prodigal son, the loving father. The story of the loving father really highlights the love that surpasses all understanding and brings you into right relationship all the time. It doesn't matter what your past has been. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter how you've acted. Your relationship to God does not change. And God doesn't want you to have that sense of a change has come over me in a negative way where you're less than. And he represents the story of the loving father. You see the father represent this through Kazaza. So what the practice of, or I should say the breaking of Kazaza, what the practice does, and I'm just going to read some of this and then I'm going to come back and I want to expound on it. Kazaza is an ancient Jewish Talmudic, and I only put this up here because I want y'all to see that I didn't make this up and it's not something that I'm pulling out, because a lot of times the teachings that I do fly in the face of traditional bondage teaching. It flies in the face of traditional bondage ministry of salvation and spirituality. And I want you to be free, because you will know the truth and the truth will make you free. If you understand the prodigal son or the loving father from Kazaza, you'll throw a lot of that old junk out the window. So the Talmudic ceremony was a cutting off, a severing of connection. Now, you know, anytime you sever yourself from the connection and God is the source, why would, and I want you to ask yourself these questions, because these are questions that went through my mind as a kid, which is why I think the Lord told me positive gospel for positive results. This idea of cutting off is a teaching that our churches have been very, very efficient in teaching. Oh, Lord, I've backslidden. Oh, Lord, I'm cut off. Oh, Lord, I don't have the relationship with you anymore that I had because I did A, B, C, and D. And again, that is spiritual kazaza, this cutting and severing of connection. And we equate that to actions. We equate that to, oh, this evil thought came through my mind and I acted on it, or whatever the case may be. I want you to understand. So in acts of public shaming, and that's actually what kazaza was. It was a public shaming. So I think about women that had to go up in front of the church and ask for forgiveness because they got pregnant. They didn't impregnate themselves. What are we doing? And at the end of the day, we got the woman up here having to say, I'm sorry, I spread my legs and got pregnant. Well, listen, where is the brother that was in the process and in the cahoots with you? And sometimes may have been some of the folk that were making you come up in front of the church and repent and confess. I said what I said, and I'll add to it before I take it back. So we see how patriarchy has allowed there to be, especially against women, kazaza, rituals of public shaming. How did they do that? Let me go ahead and explain that a little bit, and then I'll keep on talking. How did they do that? They would go out and break a pot. And when they shattered that pot out at the city gate, and that was the whole essence of it. It was like, you can't even come back in our city because in this instance, you took your father's inheritance and went out there and squandered it. You was out there with the pigs in the pig pen, which we despise. You know, we don't have anything to do with swine. Swine are unclean. We don't have any correlation to that whatsoever. You have disgraced your family. You've disgraced this community. So they would go to the city gate and they would break a pot, and the shattering of that pot was representative of the shattering and the severance and the complete destruction of that relationship in relationship to the family and or the people. Now, so what they did with it, that was Kazaza. That's what Kazaza was. And that's what I want you to understand. And what I'm trying to get you to comprehend, the story of the loving father shatters the idea of Kazaza, but we continue to embrace and teach the concept as if it's still in our existence. And again, I'm talking about spiritually, so representing mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, this idea that I've been cut off from God and he has separated himself from me. I always go back to the story of Adam and Eve in the garden. And you all remember how when they had committed sin, how they hid themselves. And matter of fact, if you go out on my Facebook page, I put in the Gullah Geechee hymn. Some of you may have heard it. Some of you have heard it or not. But the song said, Eve, where's Adam? Oh, Eve, where's Adam? Eve, where's Adam? And the response is, Adam's in the garden picking up leaves. Picking up leaves. Adam's in the garden picking up leaves. I loved it. I love history, and you can hear the ancients of our African ancestry and everything else coming out of that. But again, this whole idea of picking up leaves because I know that I've sinned. The point that I love to make out of that story is that God did not separate from man. Man was hiding from God. God did his regular daily ritual of coming in the garden to have conversation and communication. But the way that man had mentally, spiritually, and emotionally interpreted, and how do I say that and why do I say that? Because when they became naked, they said they were ashamed. There was nothing about their nakedness that had been shameful to them up until the point that they experienced the disobedience. But again, the disobedience and the fall was in man's mind, in man's spirit, in man's emotion, in man's viewpoint, in man's idea, because God still did the same thing that he's always done. And we've spent the whole Bible and we've spent the whole of the time of man in relationship to humanity trying to get back to God. But God never went anywhere. If you understand what I'm saying, God never goes anywhere. And that whole concept, the conceptual idea of spiritual kazaza, is a fallacy. And we see it manifested with Adam and Eve in the very beginning. We also see it manifested in the story of the product of the loving father, because I choose to call it the loving father instead of the prodigal son. So this disconnect, this idea that I'm disconnected. And if I can understand, why would I disconnect from the source? Why would God disconnect me from my power? Why would God disconnect me? And again, I'm going to say the fall of man was psychologically the fall in your mind. Because, and why do I say psychologically? Because shame. We don't, that all of those types of negative energies and ideas came into existence because of how we felt about what we had done. I'm trying to emphasize it does not change the idea that God has towards us, the energy that God has towards us, the relationship that God has towards us. Jesus sent his son because we could not mentally or emotionally or spiritually get out of this rut that we have of being separated from God. So y'all stay with me. So at the end of the day, it was used to formally condemn someone. I remember early on in my, and I'm leaving this up because some of you, if you can see this on the screen, you may write down some of this. I had to go through a phase and a period in my life where, again, we talk about I've decided to follow Jesus. Okay, so I went through the steps for salvation, but I was still constantly under condemnation. And some of the condemnation wasn't even stuff that I did. Some of you may relate to a point of living where you're doing everything you know to do, but you still have, the Bible talks about Satan being an accuser of the brethren, where you constantly, and the enemy and the adversary to me is your mind. Dr. Dady, do you think this has an effect on how we allow others to shame us today over things that shouldn't be an issue? Or come on, absolutely, Dr. Dady, absolutely. Do I think this affects this has an effect on how we allow others to shame us today? Absolutely. Because we have embraced this behavior of spiritual and or emotional kazaza. And I'm coming today from this standpoint to tell you, if you don't walk away with anything else from the story of the loving father, or as y'all call it, the prodigal son, you can walk away from this concept and understand we don't have to allow other people to shame us today over stuff that should not be an issue or any concern. Now, and I'm going to say this again and finish the thought where I had started before. Awesome question, Dr. Dady. Awesome. Because I would allow things and or what people would say about me to take me into this state of condemnation. Now, let me just stop right there because again, I'm telling stories. That's why we're moving past the script of the Bible, and if I can just tell it in story format so that hopefully you can get the impact of it. There's a difference between conviction and condemnation. Conviction is I did something wrong and my heart is pricked and I know it was wrong, but I turned. And whether it was something I did accidentally, whether it was something I did premeditated, and then after I did it, something pricked my heart. Conviction, you don't get stuck in the mud. Condemnation keeps you in the mud. Condemnation keeps you almost like if you've ever driven a car and gotten stuck in the mud, which I have because we were in the country. And so if you've ever been in a car that gets stuck in the mud, the more you spin your wheels, you can actually burn the rubber off of your tires from just spinning your wheels trying to get out of the mud. We would do stuff like try to rock the car. You know, that's where you go forward, put it in drive, then put it in reverse, go forward, put it. And I'm using this as an analogy because maybe some of you all can see yourselves here because you are bound to mental, emotional, or spiritual kazaza. And I'm telling you, it's not so. The very story of the prodigal son throws that whole concept out the window. So you get in condemnation, whether it's condemnation that's self-inflicted or whether it's condemnation that someone else is holding over you, as Dr. Dady says, allowing shame to come to you over things that shouldn't be an issue. And it really doesn't concern the person that's trying to hold you in a state of condemnation and kazaza, the breaking of the severance of the relationship and connection. And in essence, when I go back and I'm going back and forth and kind of reiterate even what we were addressing in the idea of what do I want to say? I'm gonna go ahead and come off the screen for a second because I'm gonna take that out of the background. If anybody wants to go back and see that, I'll put it back in. But you know, when I was talking about the vagus nerve on the other night, the vagus nerve connects and sends that information to the whole entire body and how critical it is and all the things in the parasympathetic. And again, that parasympathetic system is that system of connection. And it's the connection that allows us not to have to think about a thing. You don't think heartbeat, heartbeat, heartbeat. But that vagus nerve, it's sending and communicating with the heart so that it beats. It's all of those parasympathetic things that happen that you have to have happen in your body. Your vagus nerve is the control function for that, the control center for that functioning, I guess I should say. And we talked about how to keep that vagus nerve in a state. Well, even if we take that same idea, if I'm still practicing mental and emotional kazaza, then that in and of itself, when we start talking about ways of keeping stress off of the vagus nerve. And so today I'm going to ask you to kind of expand when I say vagus nerve today, not so much in the natural. I laid the foundation for it on Wednesday night so that you could see it in the natural. But from now on, more times than not, when I'm talking about it, I want you to also see it from the spiritual perspective of the vagus nerve. When you are in condemnation and you're stuck, excuse me, and I was addressing again how when we would get stuck, you just turn up some of you all have burnt yourself out revving the engine. And again, in real mud, you're not going to do anything but sink deeper and deeper and deeper. The more you stomp on the gas, trying to get enough energy, trying to get enough forward motion to get out, your tires just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. Truck driver, come on in here. It's good to see you. So much love to you. That's my guy. Now, so you can't do it by trying to accelerate. And so, again, that's the the way that some of us have tried our spiritual calisthenics. Well, I'm gonna go on a 40-day fast and I'm gonna trying to accelerate the engine. I'm gonna do, and you guys come up with all kinds of different things that you try to do, really in penance. To try to turn up the accelerator so you can get out of the rut, so you can get unstuck. And I'm telling you, you're just going to burn rubber. Or you do I put it in gear and I go forward, then I put it in gear, then I go in reverse, what we call rocking the car, trying to rock the car to get it out. A lot of times we'd find a piece of cardboard or something that we could stick under the tire, because the idea is that mud is slick, or same concept in snow, that snow is slick. And when you're doing that, whether it's the accelerator, just trying to gun your way out, or it's the rocking method, trying to go forward, then go backward, then go forward, then go backward, you're not getting traction. And something has to grab hold. And what I'm saying to you is that with Kazaza, you're not going to get traction if you think you're disconnected. You're not going to get traction if you've been publicly humiliated. You're not going to get traction when your community is telling you that you are not a part of it. Okay, so excommunication, let's even deal with that idea. How church, come on, Dr. Dady, how churches and ministries have chosen to do excommunication. You don't do what we want you to do. You're not a part of us anymore. Or even if they don't say that with their lips, their actions make you a person that's been excommunicated. And you feel that they have basically come out, taken that clay pot and gone through the example of Kazaza, and they've broken fellowship with you. Again, whether it's spoken or unspoken, because sometimes they'll keep on, hi, sister, spiritual thought leader, how you doing? All the while they have excommunicated you. I'm trying to get you to understand Kazaza from the story of the loving father, i.e., as you all call it, the prodigal son, is not in effect. How do we know that? Because in the story, when the father, and apparently, can I get you to see this? He's looking and expecting his son to come back. He's looking and expecting. And in that idea, I want you to realize, because God knows that any type of spiritual kazaza, any type of mental kazaza, any type of emotional kazaza that you implement in your life against yourself, God knows that you being disconnected from him is going to cause you to dwindle. It's going to cause you to shrivel up and almost die. It's going to cause you to be hungry. It's going to cause you to look at what the pigs are eating and saying, that slop looks pretty good to me because I'm awful hungry right now. I'll eat some slop. But God knows at some point in that derision, you're going to come to yourself. You're going to come to a point where you begin to realize, listen, I don't have to live like this. Some of you all have been in relationships where, like, listen, if I'm going to be in a relationship and be lonely, I might as well be lonely by myself. Something's going to awaken in you that says, I need to reconnect. Now, the thing that I want you to pay attention to is, how do you reconnect? Are you reconnecting with that servant mentality? And Truck, I mentioned you earlier on, now that you're here. Most of the time you go deeper. I just saw that exactly when you're trying to get unstuck. And I know that's what you're referencing. I just looked up and saw that, but I want to acknowledge the comments. But how are you coming back? And Truck, I'm saying I want to acknowledge your presence here that I shared when we talked about eye contact. And you spoke on and shared on Wednesday night as a transparent brother about looking people in the eye after you came off the streets. I want you to identify that inability, not just that, but I'm just acknowledging I did mention that because I want you to know I did share that. Go back and revisit that. But the idea of not looking people in the eye, the idea of whatever, fill in the blank with what behavioral changes you did and exercised as a servant, but not a son, as something less than versus a peer or an equal or full relationship. What the story manifests Again, the father's looking for the son to come back because he knows there's going to come a point, there's going to come a day when he's going to come to himself wherever he is. What the father does, and I want you to understand this very clearly, that it demolishes the concept of kazaza in any shape or form. Now, again, Talmudic law required kazaza. Okay, so we're not under the law, we're under grace. Hey. So I want you to hear this. This is what the story really brings in an impactful way. The father runs to the son. Now, I want you to get the picture. He's not only running to the son, he's also running to the outside of the city gates. Why is he running to the outside of the city gates? He wants to get to the city gates before the city and the people of the city can get there to break the clay pots and basically declare that relationship with this individual has been withdrawn, shattered, broken, and completely disconnected. It was an excommunication ritual. So I want you to understand and hear me when I say this. What we see when the father running to the gate is not just to meet his son. What we see the father doing is beating the city to the gate to excommunicate his child. Did I say something right there? What we see, I need you to get that down in your shando. What he does is preserve the son from having any stature less than, from removing the shame, from removing the exile, from removing banishment. Am I talking to anybody? Are you all getting the understanding of what I'm saying? The story of the loving father that trumps what you all preach and teach in the prodigal son. God did not allow any essence or element of kazaza ritualism to be implemented against his child. He refused to allow that to happen. Thus, we see him running to the city gate, not only to his son to meet him, but then when he gets to the son. Now, and I want y'all to get the full impact of this because we miss so much of the meat of this story because we spend and expend energy talking about the negativity of the prodigal son and all of the highlighting that we do about the wrongdoing and the missing of the mark and that we have completely missed the meat of the story, which is how the father comes out and keeps him from being exiled, keeps him from being banished, keeps him from being shamed, keeps him from being disconnected from his family and his community. He keeps him from all of that. There's no public shaming, there's no exile, there's no severing of the ties, there's no cutting off. Then not only does he go outside and run to the city gates to keep all of that from happening, he goes armed and equipped with the ring, the signet that identifies, yes, he is still a part of this family. Yes, he still is in sonship. Yes, he is still an heir and a joint heir. And then he brings the robe. Am I talking to anybody? Come on, Diana. He eliminates any question about the relationship. He doesn't say go in and take a bath. He doesn't go and say get the stench off. He doesn't say, he meets him at the gate just like he is. Am I talking to anybody? Am I talking to anybody? And this is where I wish we would eliminate this whole energy. It's an energy. It's a spirit. Can I put it like that? This whole energy of kazaza that we perpetrate and continue to preach and teach and manifest. Come on, Barber Man. Come on in here. Good evening to you. I wish that we could get a clarity on what I'm saying as far as kazaza is nullified, and bring yourselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually out from under the bondage of that. As Dr. Dady said, it has an effect on you, on yourself, and how you allow other people to interact with you. And it has an effect on you, on how you interact with yourself. Am I talking to anybody in here? You are not less than you. And so, and I'm gonna go back to telling the story. So again, the vagus nerve, we pull this over into the spirit. Then we would say the breaking of Kazaza, the demolishment of Kazaza, the rejection of Kazaza. Am I talking to anybody? Tell me if I'm talking to anybody that understands the words that are coming out of my mouth. When we understand that the story of the loving father, not just the emphasis on the prodigal son, says God did all of that to eliminate any aspect of Kazaza from being manifested and present in our lives. I do not live beneath my privilege. I have all the rights. Listen, that's what the ring and that's what the robe. I have the manifestation that says the public identity to the people. Here's my ring, here's my robe. But at the end of the day, my father has already come to the gate. He's taken away the idea of being cut off. He's taken away the severing of the ties. He's taken away any public shaming and canceled all of my debt, canceled it in full. It is non-existent. All of this that I did out here while I was in my state of derision. And can I say, I tell people all the time, if we all are truthful, something happened in our lives at some point in time where we all almost pretty much lost our minds. We were operating in a state of some kind of darkness, insanity, whatever you want to call it. We wasn't thinking right, delusion, derision, whatever. Somewhere in our lives, something popped up. Am I talking to anybody? Luke 11:34, the light of the body is the eye. Therefore, when the eye is single, thy whole body also is full of light. But when thine eye is evil, the body as also is full of darkness. Love operates with and by light. Light and darkness will never mix. However, light destroys and eliminates darkness every time, Cassandra. There's no war, there's no fight. When light comes, darkness automatically flees. Come on here, truck driver. I need us to understand the need to eliminate spiritual kazaza. So I want to almost make it like this. I want to make it like this. Just like we talked about the vagus nerve and how the vagus nerve can reset and how the vagus nerve is communicating and bringing all of this. And when the vagus nerve is in operation in its right way, it will automatically, as a byproduct, produce rest and digest. Y'all remember that? We talked about that on Wednesday. Rest and digest. I can rest not only in the natural, but I can rest spiritually. I can rest and I can digest. And I'm going to say, I think what happens a lot of times when we get spiritually where that vagus nerve and we're not digesting the things that are happening in our lives, we get constipated or we get backed up. We get diarrhea. We get the runoffs. You understand what I'm saying? Our digestion system is not, it needs to be reset. I need to be able to digest what's happened to me. I need to be able to process what just went down. I need to be, and if we are not careful, we'll get stuck in the mud instead of allowing it to digest and pass right on. I take the good of what happened to me in this situation and I incorporate that in my life. But then the bad that happened in this situation that serves me no more, that has no benefit in my life, I need to pass that as waste. I need to pass that as a product to flush in the toilet out into the sewer and release that from my body lest it become toxic. Am I talking to anybody? Rest and digest. When that vagus nerve is operating correctly. And I want you to understand that the vagus nerve is saying that come on, Cassandra, that element of the vagus nerve that needs to digest says, listen, Kazaza is no more. You need to release every element, whatever is allowing you to feel or think that you're cut off, whatever is severing the tie, whatever is got you in exile, whatever has got you in banishment. And sometimes we banish our own selves. Can I say that? Whatever is causing me public or private shaming, whatever has me out here, cancel that. Cancel it. Cancel it. Release it. Honey, move that through your digestive tract and release that out of your system, because I want you to see how in the story of the loving Father, it was given us so plainly that you're not going to do this to my child, because this is still my child. May have taken everything prematurely, still my child. May have said, give me and let me, still my child. May have had riotous living, still my child. May have been out there in the lowest of low, as our culture thinks, in the hog pen with the swine, ready to eat from what's fallen from their mouths, still my child. May have come back home absolutely filthy, stinky, flat, broke, ain't got nothing, but still my child. Still my child. No change. Am I talking to anybody? Now, again, so the question begs to be answered. Are you living spiritual Kazaza? And if you are, I need you to stop. Still we rise, Cassandra. Still we rise. Are you understanding that your relationship is not broken? So when when I read this story, I'm one of those, when I read the Bible, and it's always been this way since I was a little kid. I see it in 3D motion picture. I see whole movies. If I had a movie studio and could make movies, honey, I'd just go to town, because I see it. I see it in 3D live living color. And I see him running to the city, to the city gates. And that I want to emphasize first before I even get to the son, because he makes sure his son is covered when his son gets back. He's running to the city gates first to take care of the fact of, no, you're not going to exile my son. No, you're not going to disconnect my son. No, you're not going to excommunicate my son. No, you're not going to banish my son. Stacy 546, come on in here. No, you're not going to publicly shame my son. And not only are you not going to do that, I'm going to cover him with my robe, and I'm going to give him the signet ring that represents that he is family. Nothing less than family. I want you to embrace Kazaza canceled in your life. Okay? Instead of canceling yourself, cancel Kazaza. Embrace it in its fullest. God has not disconnected from you. And again, all the way from Adam and Eve in the garden, he still came in the garden in the cool of the day doing what he always did. Did he not? Come on, y'all. We spend so much time in our preaching and teaching, emphasizing the negativity, when what's the real emphasis in the story of the loving Father? That Kazaza, that Talmudic tradition, is completely eradicated. It's completely eliminated. It's dealt with first before he does. Come on. You can walk the walk and talk the truth. Cancel the cancel culture. Come on here, Cassandra. You better talk to me. And more times than not, beloved, I'm going to say it because it's the truth. We more so do it to ourselves because this is the way we've been indoctrinated in the church. Can I say that to you? This is what more times than not we do to ourselves because this is the way we've been indoctrinated in the church. But I need you to release that. And and again, I'm gonna go back and show it one more time because the reason why I did, because I want y'all to know I'm not just making something up. This is literally, I'm trying to teach you a concept and a truth of the culture that I need you to understand how the culture operated so you can get the full impact of the story. While we want to beat you down. And I started saying this. I started saying, and I just wanted to flash back to that to let you see this isn't something that I'm making up. This is whether you, and for some of you, I'm sure it's the first time you've ever heard the concept of Kazaza, but I want you to understand it from its fullest premise so that you can release yourself, because we many times are our worst critic. We will not let something go. But listen, what did we see manifested by the father running to the city gate and the father killing the fatted calf? He celebrates him. He puts the ring on his finger. He gives him the robe. We see grace and mercy. We see grace and mercy. And if I go back to this, the body system, in telling the story of how the vagus nerve represented spiritually, and even grace and mercy represented spiritual. When you have an infection that comes into your body begins to attack that, whatever that foreign, whatever it is. Whether it's a germ, whether it's a bacteria, whether it's a virus, whatever it is, whether it's a wound, an open wound or a cut, your body is designed to send. Your system is intentional in coming to fight against infection. Come on, I see you, Eagle forever. Listen, a germ for sure. At the end of the and welcome to the unchurched. So we understand at the end of the day that things come, but your body is already set up to go and address, and that is in the spiritual level. Grace and mercy. Grace and mercy shows up. Why? Because the Father knows that you're going to have what, again, y'all like to emphasize, the prodigal son. There are going to be prodigal moments that are going to happen. But at the end of the day, I want you to recognize and completely comprehend that grace and mercy immediately, just like the Father ran to the city gates, that's what grace and mercy does. That's what grace and mercy begins to manifest. That's what grace and mercy, it goes to the place where you have an open wound and addresses it and begins to heal it. That's where grace and mercy begins to be a healing salve. That's where grace and mercy, come on here. And instead of you operating in that state, thank you for following Eagles Forever. Instead of you operating with that mindset of spiritual kazaza, mental kazaza, emotional kazaza, I want you to understand that grace and mercy has been dispatched. Grace and mercy is that in your system, your body system, it shows up every time and runs. I'm telling you, that visual that I often get in that 3D is the Father running. I mean, first and foremost, he's perched and he's looking. And that's what your system does. It looks for any kind of infection that comes into your system, or any kind of break in the skin, anything that causes and invades your body that's not supposed to be there. That it's on guard and it's ready for that to immediately go to that point of issue and address it. That's grace and mercy. And I know when you know that you have that. Now, that being said, the same idea that I have, okay, so if I have something that's making me sick, say I ate something that is a matter of, at the end of the day, if I have something that is making me sick and I just keep eating it and I just keep eating it and I just keep eating it, what I'm going to find is that when we keep doing something over and over again, because, there's always that conversation people like to have about sloppy agape. I know that I have unconditional love, so I can do whatever I want to do. No. I'm going to again say, if you're eating something that you're unlearning the patterns of being mindful about what folks think regarding redemption, come on. I hear you talking. We're talking scripture tonight, Eagles Forever. So I appreciate you on the Trump conversation, but we're talking about scripture. I'm unlearning the patterns of being mindful about what folks think regarding redemption. Absolutely, Dr. Dady, because it's what they think. But where do you find support for that? And this is why I'm saying, even in the element of when you look at, again, it's just like if I am ingesting something that I know is unhealthy for me, and at the end of the day, I keep introducing that into my system, you are going, it is going to take its toll on you. Your body's going to keep sending something to that to try to correct it. But if you continue on that trend, it's going to have an impact. I want us to understand, again, when you start talking about spirituality and coming close to God, when you talking about spirituality and coming into a place of having relationship that has a flow, you're not trying to figure out how close I can get to the line before I fall out, and how much negativity I can ingest before it makes me sick. How much of this can I? No, that's not your energy whatsoever. I understand that I have a system that fights infection. I understand that I have something in my system that when I have an open wound that will begin to cause it to scab over and heal, so that it can make scab so it can heal. I understand that all these things are operating in my body, that if I have a germ or a virus, or if I eat something that is not may have some kind of unhealthy element to me in it that wants to make me sick, my body immediately starts to deal with whatever that is. Just like that father running to the city gates and running to the son to bring it back into right standing. Yes, that is what grace and mercy is in our lives, but we don't take advantage of that. We don't want to. We want to be healthy. We want to be healthy. We want to be whole. Am I making sense? I hope I'm making sense, because it doesn't become a thing of do's and don'ts, rules and regulations and laws, because you always hear me say rules without relationship lead to rebellion. If I've got a whole bunch of rules and there's no relationship that exists between us, rebellion is going to follow. It's not that. And so it's not this idea of spiritual thought leader, you're teaching sloppy agape. No, I'm not. But I do want you to understand the fullness of how it all works together. It's so intricately. Our bodies are fearfully and wonderfully made, both in the natural as well as the spirit. So if I understand the function of the vagus nerve in my natural body, I understand the function of the vagus nerve in my spiritual body. If I understand how my natural body produces antibodies and everything else to deal with what's going on in my body, I also understand how that works in my spiritual body. I understand that it's all intricately woven together to keep me in, again, what is the whole element of the vagus nerve, to keep us in a state of homeostasis and health. And when I am in a state of homeostasis and health, it will give me rest. It will give me calm. It will eliminate stress. Am I talking to anybody? It'll bring me into a place of wholeness. And whenever things that are not allowing me that come into my body system, then I got grace and mercy that's flooding the system, just like my body does when there's something that's trying to come in that doesn't belong in the body system. Grace and mercy is right there to eradicate it. Cassandra, God has given me, yes, so much grace and mercy that I share with many. God allows me to share with many that encounter along my journey. Light shines through me. Come on, Cassandra. And that's the light that we shine. That is exactly the light that we shine. That's what begins to manifest through us when but through successful living. What do I say? When we deconstruct the walls between the sacred and the secular, what we will find when we deconstruct the walls between the sacred and the secular, we start finding balance. We start finding freedom. We start finding success when we deconstruct those walls and understand I'm not under spiritual, mental, emotional kazaza. It does not exist. And the story that Jesus gave in that parable manifests that to the highest extent. But we spend more time talking about the errors of the prodigal son, that we've completely implemented kazaza, when the story explicitly flies in the face of kazaza and says, no, you will not disown my children. You will not disconnect my children. You will not exile and banish my children. You just won't do it. You will not publicly shame my children. And we've allowed that to be taught to us from the pulpit. And it's a lie straight from the pit of hell. And it's directly contrary to the whole theme and thesis of the story and why Jesus told it. Am I talking to anybody? We've almost gone directly contrary. Why? Because if I can bring you into a state where you feel disconnected, you lose your power. You lose your influence. You lose your authority, which allows me to have the power over you, allows me to have the influence over you, allows me to have the authority over you, allows me to put you in a inferior position where you feel like you can't look me in my eye. Am I talking to anybody? Come on here. But God says, no, I want to commune with you face to face. I want to commune with you one-on-one. I want to come into your garden and you know that I'm still here, ready to have conversation and communion with you. The relationship will never, ever, ever be destroyed. The relationship will never be severed. You will never be banished. Am I talking to anybody? You will never be exiled. We got to understand that to really release ourselves from that energy. That's what I wanted to talk about tonight. And again, truck driver, I appreciate you for your transparency, because that's when we get into a place of spirituality, when we stop trying to hide and we just really begin to be transparent before God. Okay? I'm not trying to be something I'm not. I'm not trying to hide, but I am going to be who I am and what I am. But this is what I say. When you really understand that, my Father's the King of Kings. Matter of fact, let's move on to the relationship where I'm the bride, not just a child of God, but I'm the bride. All right? When we move into that level, when we move into that place, when we move into that mindset, I got a ring on my finger. I'm wearing a royal priestly robe. I'm wearing a royal kingly robe, queenly robe. I identify as an heir and a joint heir. Why would I live anything less than this standard right here? I contend, instead of it allowing you to be less than in sloppy agape, it will cause you to raise a whole different standard, because I know who I am. I know who I am. I know who I am. And you can't, even if I made a mistake, listen, you're the birthday now. Come on. Come on. I haven't heard that one yet, Dr. Dady, so come on and educate me. You're the birthday now. I love it. I love it. I need you to understand Kazaza and refuse to live at any level of it. At the age I am and the things I've been through, I have to be transparent. And that, truck driver, is what God can work with. That's what God can work through. That's what God can work in. When we come to that place. And can I say this, truck? And the Father knew that you were going to come to this day. And the Father knew that, hey, when I see him show up on the horizon, I'm going to beat the rest of the city folk there. that would want to take him into banishment and exile and cut him off. Before you break one pot, the Father shows up with a robe and a ring. Hey, I felt something right there. Before they break one pot, the Father shows up with a robe and a ring at the city gate. Because what you're not going to do is make my child feel less than. And that's the way God loves us. That's the way God operates with us. Come on, y'all. That's the way. I like it. And then I remember a song that's the way God planned it. That's the way that he wants it to be. Oh, yes. So we got to live together. Love one another. Treat everybody right. Remember the golden rule and let the world keep silent because we don't have to be violent. That's the way God planned it. That's the way he wants it to be. Somebody remember that from back in the day. I hope this was empowering, Dr. Dady. And again, I said on the other night as truck driver was talking, this stirred up in my spirit that we need to understand Kazaza and we need to release it from our energy, release it from our mindset, release it from our indoctrinations that we've been taught. We need to release it because the story of the loving Father teaches exactly the opposite if we would just teach it right. All right. I love y'all. I hope this has been a blessing. I want to thank everybody that's come in tonight. I appreciate each one of you. I absolutely positively do. Y'all see, I got the wrong banner up there. This isn't Chop House. This is actually the Unchurched. I forgot to change my banner, but nonetheless, it's the Lion's Den. Wherever you come, it's the Lion's Den. And you know, this is how we roll. This is how we do it. I appreciate, come on, J. Trey. It's so good to see you. And you are more than welcome. I love every last one of you. Romans 8:38, come on, send us, Cassandra. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of God. Because God's love is ever extended towards us and it never, ever changes. I love you with the love of God and I want you to go out of here motivated and inspired. Come on, Diane. I appreciate you. Nothing but love to you and blessings and peace. Listen, you know how I like to leave you. I want you to go out of here and have peace for your journey.
Welcome to the Unchurched. Pull up a chair. Yeah. We cut that cloth. Mind on freedom. Still in the talk. Welcome to the Chop House. Where we break that script apart. Shopping love, shopping love. Carving futures from the dark. From the block to the boardroom. We gon' build this brick by brick. With a spiritual thought leader. Turning pressure into gift. Yeah. Black gold in the bloodstream. Old pain in the bone. Turn chains into cheat codes. Turn maybe to our own. We talk vision, talk village, talk healing in the mix. Talk that on your back.